we're the ones your mom said to watch out for. We're the ones that you have to hide your daughters from.
Everybody's gonna want to be an outlaw biker.
Labeled by authorities as the most vicious outlaw biker gang in the country.
Bottom line is I will be your best friend or your worst enemy. If you step on my toes and don't apologize, I'm gonna confront you.
They are the Mongols, and they're like no other gang.
They have a code of conduct, an expectation of each other that they will suffer no slight.
Who the f are we?
We have a kind of a mantra that's respect few, fear none.
I had to pull my knife out and cut her loose to get her up. She couldn't get up.
They will take on any challenger, no matter what the odds.
I'm gonna get up and keep coming at you until I can't do it anymore.
And they will fight to the death to defend the Mongol name.
I'm willing to take a bullet for one of my brothers, and my brothers are willing to take a bullet for me.
These outlaw bikers will be put to the test when they go to war against two of California's deadliest gangs.
What the Mongols will instill in you is that you are some type of super being. Doesn't mean you won't die. It just means that you, your person, your being will live forever.
Commerce, California, November 1999. 7 miles east of Los Angeles. 42-year-old Daniel Herrera went looking for his wife at Niños, a local bar. He found her inside, hanging out with members of the Mongols Motorcycle Club, or Mongols MC, and ordered her to come home with him. But Herrera's wife wasn't ready to leave. Los Angeles DA Max Huntsman prosecuted the case.
He used an expletive and said something offensive to the Mongols in the course of arguing with his wife. The Mongols got upset about that.
It didn't matter to them that Herrera, a father of 3, had no gang affiliation. He crossed the line of no return when he'd insulted them.
There is something worse than death, and that is disrespect.
I don't care if you give me respect because you fear me or because you like me, but I want respect, and I'm going to get it in one way or another.
To pay the price for his disrespect, Herrera would come face to face with the Mongols' brutality. Several Mongols, led by Adrian Gutierrez, chased Herrera outside the bar. They cornered him in an alley and savagely beat him. Gutierrez dealt the final blow, digging a knife into Herrera's back until he drew his last breath.
It was particularly brutal. It wasn't just a quick stab wound and they run away or something. It was multiple gang members beating him in multiple places over a fairly long period of time.
The crime bore all the hallmarks of a classic Mongols attack. Spontaneous, merciless, and deadly.
What makes the difference between an outlaw biker and some of these other groups, I think, is to the extent that you will defend yourself.
With only an estimated 1,000 members across the country, the Mongols are a relatively small organization. What they lack in numbers, they make up for in bravado and ruthlessness.
Being a Mongol is like having a power greater than you could ever imagine.
We're not trying to be choir boys. We're not trying to be Boy Scouts. I mean, we are what everybody fears.
Members say they belong not to a gang, but a Mongol nation. And they pledge the highest form of loyalty and self-sacrifice to each other. Roger Pinney was a national president and one of the original Mongols.
This was a family deal. That's what the Mongols were all about. One huge family. That's where it's supposed to be.
I will give my life for this club. You know, don't get it twisted. Anybody out there watching this, I will die to make sure that the brother behind me can live, you know?
formed as an Hispanic alternative to white motorcycle gangs like the Hells Angels. The Mongols have established multi-million-dollar drug smuggling rings, competing with their rivals for a cut of the cocaine and methamphetamine trade. They also smuggle guns and steal choppers.
You know, grand theft motorcycle. And they're very good at it. They chop up the vehicles, they make other vehicles from them, they switch VIN numbers. There's a lot of that.
They're very organized, they're very in control, they're very serious. They have officers, they meet regularly, and they are communicated to what they will and won't do.
Despite the gang's criminal record, the Mongols' current president, Ruben Doc Cavazos, insists that their activities are all above board.
Are there members that do things that maybe, you know, I don't approve of? Yeah, okay, there is. But is it part of a club function? No. Do we try and discourage it? Yes, we try and discourage it.
Cavazos was raised in East LA. In his youth, he was a member of the Avenues, one of the toughest, most hardcore gangs in California. The Avenues are part of a large coalition of Southern California Hispanic gangs known as Sureños. A group whose size grants them extreme power on the streets of LA.
When you grow up in some of these poor neighborhoods, you end up depending on each other, from one gangbanger to the other. It becomes a family to you.
Cavazos credits his early years as a gangbanger for giving him the training he needed to run his Mongol army.
On the streets, it's all about respect, okay, and lack of. Okay, if you feel disrespected, you're going to take up arms or whatever you have to do to gain that respect. And almost immediately, you got to take up a weapon. There's just no way around it. It's survival.
A love of motorcycles drew him to the Mongols. He rose through the ranks and in 2002 took the reins of the club.
When I took the club over, it was known as an East LA club. You know, they want to call it a gang, but it's a club. An East LA club, and we are on just about every state in the nation now. And we're also in Mexico, Canada, Italy, Australia.
As national president, Cavazos began a recruitment drive, bringing Sureño gang members into the Mongols in order to bolster their ranks.
They weren't necessarily as motorcycle-oriented, but they were violent-oriented. So they made good soldiers within the gang and good bodyguards and good criminals.
But many of these Sureños were already controlled by the Mexican mafia, known on the streets as LMAO. LMAO is one of California's most notorious criminal organizations, with as many as 50,000 foot soldiers working for them out on the streets. These foot soldiers execute the mafia's orders and pay them a cut from their drug trade. When Cavazos started bringing mafia-connected gang members into the Mongols, he created a web of tangled loyalties. Reporter Chris Blatchford has been covering LA's gangs for 20 years.
And there was some question, well, you know, whose side are you on? I mean, that's when the violence started.
January 2004. The trouble began in Rosemead, California, a small town 11 miles east of LA. La Sangra, a gang loyal to the Mexican mafia, was running a methamphetamine lab out of a motel room. Profits from the operation were going to the mafia. Several Mongols who were staying at the same motel let their curiosity get the best of them when they walked by the room.
They saw something they recognized as drug dealing, and they get into a verbal exchange with the gang members who are running the drug lab, and eventually it turns into a confrontation.
After trading heated words, one of the mafia members pulled out a gun and fatally shot one of the Mongols. Police quickly descended on the motel, uncovering the meth lab. The incident infuriated Mexican mafia leaders who lost $10,000 in the bust. They demanded that the Mongols cover their lost earnings.
Mexican mafia felt that that was an insult to them, that they had lost money had the drug dealing not been compromised. And so they told the Mongols, you owe us some money.
Not only did the mafia order the Mongols to pay for the lost lab, they issued a bigger, sweeping demand. Because many of the new recruits working part-time for the Mongols had ties to the Mexican mafia, the mafia demanded a percentage of all the Mongols' drug sales.
They see these other Latino kids joining the Mongols as people who have affiliation towards them. The Mexican mafia went, wait a minute, you're selling drugs and you're working with the Mongols and you're kicking back money to the Mongols? The Mongols are gonna pay us a drug tax.
A representative from the Mexican mafia paid a visit to the Mongols' president, Doc Cavazos.
And he says to me, well, you guys need to pay your tío, which is uncle in Spanish. And I said, well, you know, I'm not giving my tío anything. I explained to him that's not what we're about, and that we are not giving up a penny.
Cavazos later called together his Mongol army to take a vote that would determine the gang's fate.
I asked him, what do you want to do? Meaning, you know, do you want to pay them? How do you want to handle this? All at once, they just scream, no, we're not paying them. When they stand up in unity and say, we'll go to war, it's really something, because you know they mean it.
It was a question of respect. Authorities believed it would be a bloodbath.
The Mongols, they don't control the whole system the way the Mexican mafia does. And the Mexican mafia is very patient and will wait until its opportunity arises, and then, you know, a lot of people will die.
The Mongols vowed they would never surrender.
And to let you know that a Mongol will always win. A Mongol will always come out on top. You know, I will not lose. You know, if I'm down, I'm gonna get up and keep coming at you until I can't do it anymore.
In 2004, the outlaw biker gang, the Mongols, prepared to go to war with the most powerful gang in Southern California, the Mexican Mafia.
You got to remember, these are two giants. These are two giants that they live on pride and respect. And to ask for one or the other to bow down, it's just not going to happen.
I love to kick ass. I'll come at you with a smile, but I will fight you just because it's cloudy outside. You know what I mean? That's what I like to do.
The Mongols were no strangers to violence. The gang had been at war with their chief rival, the Hells Angels, for decades. It was a war that defined the Mongols' history and who they are today. The Mongols motorcycle gang originated in Montebello, California in 1970, naming themselves after the legendary army of conquerors led by Genghis Khan. In spite of their name, the Mongols had humble beginnings. Barred from joining the Hells Angels due to their Hispanic heritage, a half dozen came together to form the gang.
The original credo of the Mongols is that they were guys riding Harleys. That's really the genesis of it.
Like many of the original Mongols, former President Roger Pinney was a Vietnam veteran.
Most of us had post-traumatic stress, but we didn't want to admit it because we wanted to forget about it, and we were like disgraced. We were spit on when we came back in the airport. We were looking for a niche. A lot of these people haven't got families, so it's a family.
At first, their goals were simple: ride together, party together, and rebel against society. But they weren't just friends bucking convention. The gang quickly attracted members with criminal tendencies, and soon the label Outlaw stuck to them. Reports of stabbings, shootings, and statutory rape followed the Mongols wherever they rode. As they grew in numbers, the Mongols began to encroach on the Northern California territory of the Hells Angels. Soon, these disaffected war veterans traded one battlefield for another as they went to war over turf with the Angels. It was a fight that started over a black and white patch. A Mongol's proudest possession is a patch displaying their club colors. Worn on their vests, it's split into 3 pieces with their logo in the middle.
Over the top, it says the name of the gang, and on the bottom, it says where they're from.
The Hells Angels claimed all of California as their territory and declared ownership of the state on their patch. Starting in the early 1970s, the Mongols also wanted to claim California and put the state name on their patch. The move infuriated the Hells Angels.
Well, the Hells Angels came to the Mongols and said, you need to take it off. And obviously that didn't go well with the members of the Mongols Motorcycle Club. And they basically told them, you know, off. That's how the first war started.
Clashes between the 2 gangs escalated from barroom skirmishes into bloodier and deadlier reprisals.
They're going to go from fighting on the street in drunken brawls to stabbing each other. From there, they're going to go to shooting each other, and from shooting each other, they'll go to bombing.
Nothing would be off limits in the 2 gangs' fierce struggle for power. Summer 1977. The Mongols held a funeral for 2 of their own killed outside San Diego by the Hells Angels. Just before the ceremony began, someone dropped off a bouquet of red and white carnations, the Hells Angels colors.
He sets them up near the deceased and proceeded down the street. Before anyone can do anything about it, the car that he had drove up in exploded.
3 Mongols were injured in the attack. 2 months later, the Angels struck again, setting off another bomb, this time in a Mongol's bike shop in Los Angeles.
Somebody sent a motorcycle tire in there to have a flat fixed. Unfortunately, the only person working was the kid brother of a Mongol member. When the kid was changing the tire blew up. It blew up the whole building and killed the kid.
The Mongols retaliated. At a biker bar in Lemon Grove, California, 126 miles outside LA, 4 Mongols attacked and killed a ranking member of the Angels. Soon after that, the Mongols executed a Hells Angels chapter president. The executions of 2 higher-ups in the Angels organization set off shockwaves throughout the biker communities. In a series of meetings, top leadership came together and the 2 rival gangs made a pact. The Mongols could continue to wear the California patch, but agreed they would not open any new branches in Northern California. The Angels would leave Southern California to the Mongols. After a decade of bloodshed, the brutal turf war was over. But the constant battles had drained the Mongol nation of resources, men, and morale. By the early 1990s, their ranks dwindled to about 100 members, an all-time low.
The smart money was that they were on their way out.
Realizing that they were on the verge of extinction, the Mongols relaxed their recruitment standards to disastrous results. In 1998, an agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms was able to infiltrate the gang. For the next 2.5 years, the ATF built their case against the Mongols. In May 2000, more than 650 law enforcement agents raided the homes and offices of Mongol gang members throughout California, Colorado, Oklahoma, and Georgia.
They came to everybody's house and they threw their flashbang grenades and they yanked people out of their homes and what have you.
The operation nabbed 42 gang members on charges of arson, extortion, drug dealing, and murder. The raids failed to take down any of the Mongols' top leaders, and the gang was soon on the rebound, this time coming back even stronger. The ATF bust had been televised throughout Southern California, and the exposure proved to be good for Mongol recruitment.
I think we almost doubled in size. It's amazing how people come to you and want to join.
By 2001, the Mongols were back in business. Their rapid growth had them again looking to expand north. a move that was forbidden by their truce with the Hells Angels.
We wanted to start a chapter of the Mongols in San Jose, California. The Hells Angels were claiming Northern California as all theirs. According to them, that was their territory. We were to stay out of it.
The Mongols ignored the treaty and opened the branch, reigniting the two gangs' long simmering rivalry.
Soon after we started the San Jose chapter, we were having these little skirmishes with the Hells Angels, little boxing matches here and there. After a while, communication was cut off, okay? When one side no longer wants to negotiate or speak, you can bet there's trouble coming.
Laughlin, Nevada, April 27th, 2002. Tens of thousands of bikers from across the country descended on this casino town on the Arizona-Nevada border for the annual Laughlin River Run. The Mongols and the Hells Angels had arrived in full force, but were keeping a safe distance from each other, staying at hotels on opposite ends of the Strip. Until the night of April 27th, when the Hells Angels came looking for a fight. A group of angels went to drink at Harrah's, the Mongols hotel. The casino's surveillance camera caught their entrance on videotape. Roger Pinney, the acting president of the Mongols, was on the casino floor with then Sergeant-at-Arms Ruben Doc Cavazos and dozens of Mongol foot soldiers.
I went over to Doc and I says, we need to defuse this problem before it happens, and he said, I think it's already too late.
According to Pinney, hoping he could ease the tension, he ventured into the swarm of angels, his every move captured on surveillance tape.
And I started to make a communication which started to work, and while I was talking to them, and actually we were laughing.
Suddenly, one of the Hells Angels, or HAs, lunged at a Mongol across the casino floor. The two gangs erupted in a sea of violence.
I grabbed an HA to pull him off another Mongol, and I was stabbed 4 times.
Pinney went down, while all around him, Mongols and Hells Angels continued attacking each other with hammers, knives, bar stools, and beer bottles. Within minutes, police stormed the casino and ended the brawl. 1 Mongol and 2 Hells Angels lay dead on the casino floor, and more than a dozen were injured. With Mongol leader Roger Pinney out of commission, Ruben Doc Cavazos seized control and pushed Pinney to the side.
I believed in Doc from the beginning. I was the one that helped bring him in because I believed it was his bullshit. And now I realize it is bullshit.
Cavazos was now national president of the Mongols Motorcycle Club. After the bloody fight at Laughlin, Cavazos knew the Mongols were facing a new era of warfare against the Hells Angels. He needed to build up the Mongols' ranks and do it quickly. LA, 2002. After a decade-long truce between the Mongols Motorcycle Club and the Hells Angels, the two arch rivals went to war all over again.
One of them is going to be the victor and one is going to be the vanquished. And whoever wins, of course, will try to expand their territory.
Mongols President Ruben Doc Cavazos set out to grow his biker army as quickly as possible. The ranks of the Mongols numbered in the hundreds, while the Hells Angels had thousands of members spread out across the nation. Outmanned by their enemies, the Mongols launched an aggressive new recruitment strategy. Doc Cavazos went back to his street gang roots. He began enlisting part-time members with ties to other Southern California street gangs.
And those Hispanic gang members sometimes didn't know how to ride a bike, didn't have a bike themselves. This was a violation of their own rules of conduct.
For more than 30 years, the Mongols had a rule that every member needed to own and ride a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Now, this was being suspended to increase membership. The decision stirred up controversy, and many Mongol veterans, like Tony Vodnik, didn't trust or respect the new recruits.
To me, they're not bikers, they're gangbangers. They call themselves part-time Mongols. There's no such thing as part-time Mongols. You're a Mongol 100% or you're nothing.
Members who joined the Mongols of the past usually went through a long initiation process. They had to learn the gang's rules and its constitution and perform tasks, some of them criminal, to get patched in.
They have patches in which they are rewarded for certain kinds of behavior. And the behavior that they get a patch for is antisocial, violent, offensive behavior.
These patches become part of a Mongol's bragging rights. A red wing for participating in group sex. A Laughlin patch for surviving the 2002 battle. And the skull and crossbones represents violent crime, including murder. Mongol Adrian Gutierrez, who fatally stabbed Daniel Herrera outside Nino's bar in Commerce, California, received one such patch.
After Mr. Gutierrez committed the murder, shortly thereafter he showed up with a skull and crossbones patch. We learned that that was for killing somebody in support of the gang. And that's the kind of thing they take pride in. They're set forth in their bylaws what patches you can get, just like the Boy Scouts give merit badges.
Every patched-in member is chosen for a unique skill he offers the organization.
There may be a guy in the Mongols that's never done anything particularly violent, but he may be a good drug dealer, you know. And he's a money maker of some kind. Maybe he's not a drug dealer, but he has some other kind of scam going that he can bring money into the club. You know, another guy might be a stone killer, and he may be an enforcer, and that's what he's famous for. Each person has a role.
The Mongols also sport tattoos, designed to cement their status as outlaws.
They're out there to commit crimes, and they have these patches and these activities that they do that alienate the rest of the world and tie them in closer to the gang.
For many, the gang becomes a virtual family.
Family was kind of weird for me, so I found it in other areas of my life. And I've never seen a group of people be as brotherly and loving as the Mongols are.
And many members are willing to set aside their traditional family to serve the gang.
This is a family that I'm committed to. Does it mean I distance myself from my real family? No, I don't try to. You have to have some balance in your life, but this is where I decided to put my energies and dedicate myself to.
I coach Little League sports, you know? You would look at me and not think that, but you know, like I said, I'm two people. I'm the dad, the husband, the coach, and then once I leave that part of my life, then there's this life, you know what I mean?
To be a Mongol requires following a strict military-like set of rules. Even with the influx of new recruits, Doc Cavazos insists that the membership guidelines remain mostly the same.
We dictate what you're allowed to wear on your vest and what you're not. We dictate the type of shoes that you can wear, the way you stand, the way you act in public, even your face. You used to have what was called a war face, and that was your face in public. The meaner, the harder you looked, the less chance there was of somebody making a move, a violent move on you.
Just like the Army takes people and tries to get them to change their life view, and the Mongols try to get you to change your life view and become a Mongol.
Who the f*** are we? We are Mongol Raiders! The Raiders of the Night!
Once inside, the gang follows a strict chain of command, with the president and vice president at the top of the organization. Underneath the leaders, there is a secretary, treasurer, and a sergeant-at-arms, followed by other specialized positions.
I'm what they call a club enforcer. When there's people out there who don't really agree with what has to be taken care of, I make sure that they agree with it. I don't take no for an answer.
Doc Cavazos leads his men like an army at war. He keeps frontline units at the ready for any crisis.
We have response teams that are standing by in case there's a problem in any bar or restaurant. If there's a problem, they are to go in there and either save the member that's in trouble, or else eliminate everybody who's caused him his death, okay, if that's the case.
Cavazos also runs an intelligence unit that gathers information about rival gangs.
I'll dress differently, and when the Mongols are headed to a bike function, I would enter it ahead of time, and I will mingle. And I will mingle and find out who's there, what clubs, what people. And I will not let on that I'm a Mongol. It's part of our intelligence. So it's very much like the military.
The gang also uses a coded language. After one murder, the Mongols issued an internal alert to evade the police.
They put out what's called a Code 55. They told all their members in the area not to wear their colors, their vests that show the name of their gang, not to go out openly, not to carry weapons when normally they do carry weapons, and to avoid contact with law enforcement. That's the kind of organized criminal enterprise that allows them to function in the way they do.
At the core of the Mongols organization is the credo that every member must live by.
It doesn't matter who you are, we don't fear you, okay? And basically, the idea of training these Mongols, recruiting them and what have you, is for them to live by that. They should fear no one, not even death.
From 2002 to 2004, Doc Cavazos' recruitment strategy dramatically increased the gang's membership.
Gotta love them.
There were now several hundred Mongols operating on the streets of California. But these new members would put the gang's future in jeopardy and pit the Mongols in a life and death struggle with the mighty Mexican Mafia. January 2004. In order to fight its war in California against the Hells Angels, the Mongols Motorcycle Club was building up its membership. The gang was expanding in size and reach, but its new method of recruitment was backfiring. The Mongols' leader, Ruben Doc Cavazos, had welcomed members of LA's street gangs to join them as part-timers. But many of these recruits had ties to LMAO, or the Mexican Mafia, Southern California's most powerful gang.
So you have a dichotomy. You can't serve two masters. Either you're a servant of the Mexican Mafia or you're a servant of the Mongols. And you can't be both, and that presented the problem.
The Mafia was now demanding that the Mongols pay them a percentage of their drug profits as a form of tribute, and repay the $10,000 they lost when some Mongols caused the bust of a Mafia meth lab.
It's just never going to happen. The Mongols will never pay anybody. The Mongols will never give anything up to anyone.
Yet the Mongols didn't seem to stand a chance against the Mexican Mafia's vast army of 50,000 soldiers, who police consider the most lethal gang network in the world.
They're probably the most active gang and most prolific at killing. They control the streets.
Authorities learned about the imminent war and, hoping to settle tensions without a body count, tried to warn Doc Cavazos to back down.
Sheriffs used to pull up in front of my house and they used to say, "What are you going to do now, Doc?" Meaning, man, you guys, this is going to get ugly, this is going to get serious. And I used to almost be disgusted in that question. What do you think I'm going to do? We're going to stand our ground. We're going to tell them, "Oh, screw you."
After a series of meetings between the Mongols and the Mexican Mafia fell apart, both sides prepared for war. La Mirada, California, March 2004. Shortly after nightfall, a gunman pulled up to this tattoo parlor, frequented by the Mongols. He withdrew a machine gun from his jacket and opened fire before speeding away. The shop owner was killed and a Mongol was wounded. The Mexican Mafia had drawn first blood, and things quickly heated up.
If you shoot one of our guys off his bike, we're gonna come at you with everything we have.
Whatever it takes. Wherever your imagination can go. I would be a soldier for this club no matter what.
The Mongols became targets everywhere they went, and gun battles erupted all over East LA.
We would be on the freeway, and a black SUV would get on up ahead of us, and when they'd pull up next to us, it would open fire on the motorcycle.
There's people shooting at you. There's people trying to, throw you off the road, throw you off your bike.
And we gave it back to them. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm not acting like we're just the victims. We're not. When the time came, we gave it back to them.
The attacks hit closer and closer to home until the Mongols' own headquarters turned into a battle zone.
Our clubhouse would be constant shootouts. It was like the Wild West. Somebody would drive in there. We had one guy right in there on a bicycle, on a mountain bike, and opened up on the clubhouse with a fully automatic.
Meanwhile, the Mongols were still embroiled in another war with their arch rivals, the Hells Angels, or HAs. The Angels ramped up their own attacks, and Doc Cavazos dodged assassination attempts by both groups.
We had members of the club who would come to my house and start my car up for me because they were afraid I was going to be blown up. And they would check underneath it with mirrors, and about that time, they found several sticks of dynamite underneath one of my cars in my driveway.
As the pressure mounted, some of the Mongols betrayed the gang credo, respect few, fear none, to save their own skins.
It got so bad that I'm told that a lot of Mongols were not wearing their colors around town because they were afraid that the Mexican Mafia would see those colors and they would send somebody to kill them.
When the war broke out with the HA, we lost maybe 2 or 3 members. When the war broke out with the MA, we lost about 20 members.
Many of the Mongols' old guard openly blamed Doc Cavazos for the bloody siege. They said that if Doc hadn't recruited part-timers from Sureños gangs, they never would have been at war with the Mexican Mafia. Cavazos responded by forcing dissenters like veteran Roger Penny out of the gang.
It's just when he realized people weren't happy with what he was all about. He kicks them out, which he has kicked out more people in his time of reign than the whole club has been together since the beginning of time. And this is a prime example of what's going on right to this day.
The war was tearing the Mongols apart, but Cavazos refused to cave.
Well, if a shootout is what somebody wants, a shootout is what we'll give you. It got to a point where the characters who were originally involved, moved out of their homes, okay, because, I guess they feared that Mongols were coming by their house all the time.
The Mongols were managing to stand their ground. But with 2 ongoing wars and growing dissension within his own ranks, Cavazos faced an uncertain future.
I don't even want to say what might happen to this man. If he ever gets locked up, he's gone. The man is gone.
The Mongols were holding their own in a 2-fronted war with the Hells Angels and the Mexican Mafia. By December 2004, the Mafia was looking for an end to their conflict with the Mongols.
I don't think anybody really wanted a war. The Mafia just wanted their piece of the drug action. But people were getting killed.
A representative from the Mafia approached reporter Chris Blatchford, hoping to send a message to Doc Cavazos.
He told me basically that Doc was going to be a dead man if he didn't start playing ball with them.
Through his reporting, Blatchford served as a go-between, and the 2 sides sat down together. In a closed-door meeting, representatives of the Mexican Mafia and the Mongols struck a deal to end the war. No one outside of that meeting knows what was agreed, but members of law enforcement believe a payment was made to end the bloodshed.
I think everyone involved kind of realized, this is not going to go anywhere nice.
Yet growing conflicts within the gang itself still challenged leader Ruben Doc Cavazos.
There's a faction in the Mongols that don't think that Doc Cavasso is a real hardcore biker. They see him more of a politician and a manipulator who surrounded himself with some thugs that take care of him and sort of watch his back.
Many of the old guard Mongols were thrown out of the group for questioning Cavassos. They accused him of weakening their organization by filling it with part-time gang recruits of dubious loyalty.
I was like, what's going on here with Doc? Part-time Mongol. If you have a bike, you earn that patch, you ride, and you act like you're a biker. You act like you conduct yourself as a biker.
There's, I'd say, hundreds of brothers who would like to come back, but they're never going to do it as long as Doc is in control, because they're not going to put up with it. We just have this, as far as I'm concerned, disease right in the middle of there still.
But Doc's recruitment strategy appeared to have paid off. The Mongols had built up their ranks and endured a war with the powerful Mexican mafia. The long-standing feud with rival biker gang, the Hells Angels, also seemed to be cooling off, with charges pending against both sides from the violence at Laughlin. The gangs fell into an uneasy peace.
These guys are all tough guys, but, you know, they also want to live a life. I mean, I think that, you know, bad choice of words maybe, but I mean, I think there was a feeling there, you know, to bury the hatchet.
You know, the leaders, they don't want war. Nobody does. It's stupid. Our passion is riding motorcycles. It becomes difficult to ride your motorcycle when someone's trying to shoot you off of it.
The battle may have died down for now, but animosity between the Mongols and Hells Angels runs deep.
Here's the deal. You put a Hells Angel in front of me and he's got a ball-peen hammer in his hand, I'll shoot him. Straight up. I will have no problems with it.
Keeping the club ready for any battle, Cavassos continues to build his membership.
What the Mongols will instill in you, what they'll start teaching you from day one, is that you are some type of super being, okay? It doesn't mean you won't die. It just means that somehow or other your person, your being will live forever, okay? And they teach you that you don't back down, okay? And you don't disgrace the club.
Cavassos is confident that the new generation of Mongols has what it takes to live up to the gang's core beliefs of demanding respect and fearing nothing.
To be honest with you, you want to be known as a rough, tough, always willing to defend yourself club.
For Mongol members, a willingness to fight to the death is what being a Mongol is all about.
I'll live for my brother, I'll die for my brother, I'll take a bullet for my brother. That's just the way I live.
I've been shot for this club, I've been stabbed while I've been in this club, I've been to prison for this club. And, you know, a lot of people, they don't understand. But you know what, I have people that love me and care about me that aren't going anywhere. The club is always there for me. And on a personal level, that's what this club means for me, and that's why I'm willing to sacrifice for this club.
I know there's something wrong with me to actually want to do this, you know? But I think that's what makes it, I think that's what makes it special, though. No one wants to be harassed by the cops. No one wants to be shot at. No one wants to be assassinated. No one wants all that. So there has to be something inside you to be here. You know?
Even with the danger involved, the appeal of the gang shows no signs of letting up.
I think the public is readily available to accept the myth about outlaw biker gangs, that they're pretty neat guys on the open road on bikes, you know, boom, 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 boom. But if you ask what crimes they've committed, I think everything, you know, murder, extortion, drug dealing, rape, the list goes on.
The Mongols, it seems, are here to stay.
We won't stop coming. We're the Mongol nation. We will continue to do what we do no matter what. No matter who tries to stop us. The last time they tried to stop us, we got bigger. So every time they try to stop us, we're going to get bigger.
It's a war with no end in sight. Being fought between two of the most dangerous gangs in America.
I'm willing to take a bullet for one of my brothers, and my brothers are willing to take a bullet for me.
At stake, control of Northern California, pride and domination.
Firearms, edged weapons, blunt objects, anything that they can utilize to fight with, they will.
Their total focus is on hatred for the enemy. They have a policy of shoot or kill on sight if they can.
The Hells Angels and the Mongols are locked in a battle to the death.
It's last man standing. Fights may last a brief period of time. A war goes on forever.
War's hell. No, that's the bottom line.
San Francisco, California. The city by the bay was the site of the counterculture revolution of the 60s and is home to the Golden Gate Bridge.
San Francisco is known for its kind of rough and tumble Barbary Coast past, and there's still a lot of that wildness, but it's also a big tourist city.
Today, this ever-changing city has become something else. San Francisco is the latest front in a long-running battle between two of the most brutal outlaw biker gangs in the world.
The willingness of each gang, the Hells Angels and the Mongols, to use violence for control is one of the things that characterizes those gangs as criminal street gangs.
There's only one goal in this war.
Kill each other. However often they can get the chance. Doesn't matter where it is. Doesn't matter if it's at Disneyland in the middle of summer with school out and 50 or 60 busloads of kids there.
When they happen to run into each other at a roadside rest area or a restaurant or a bar, it's like mixing oil and water.
The fights are erupting not just in San Francisco, but across California. The Hells Angels control the northern part of the state, the Mongols the southern region. But neither is satisfied with the imposed limits.
Traditionally, San Francisco has been Hells Angel country. I mean, this is their turf. And once the Mongols come up from down south and they come in here, it's a slap in the face to the Hells Angels.
The result is a mounting list of casualties. Jorge Gil Blanco is a gang expert with Western States Information Network. He specializes in outlaw motorcycle clubs.
The Mongols and the Hells Angels hate each other so much at this point that their total focus is on doing damage to each other wherever and whenever they can. The collateral damage is of no consequence to them.
The Hells Angels are the biggest biker gang on Earth. With 2,500 members and 230 chapters across the United States alone. They demand respect wherever they go.
I don't call it respect, I call it fear and intimidation. Everybody is, unless they're another member, they're fair game, they're just prey.
Anthony Tate, who worked undercover for the FBI, is one of the few men to infiltrate the Hells Angels and live to tell the tale. He even fooled the Angels' legendary leader, Sonny Barger.
Sonny Barger described me, you are the perfect Hells Angel. You're squared away, you're clean, you take care of business. You know, I was wearing a wire at the same time he was telling me this, so it was kind of funny.
His 5 years posing as a member showed Tate just what the Hells Angels are all about.
Stolen vehicles, stolen firearms, narcotics distribution, narcotics manufacturing, extortions of every kind you can imagine. If you can name a crime, they've got their fingerprint on it somewhere.
The Mongols are the Angels' biggest rival, and their cutthroat attitude makes them a dangerous enemy.
To let you know that a Mongol will always win. A Mongol will always come out on top. You know, if I'm down, I'm gonna get up and keep coming at you until I can't do it anymore.
The Mongols are smaller in number. With just 500 members and about 12 chapters in the U.S., they're outnumbered by 5 to 1 when compared to the Angels.
I love to kick ass. I'll come at you with a smile, but I will fight you just because it's cloudy outside. You know what I mean? That's what I like to do.
When a club is at war, you're going to do whatever it takes to protect your family and your friends and your brothers. If you see each other in bars, you know, the shit's still on.
Roger Pinney is a veteran Mongol and the gang's former national president.
To be honest, I mean, it is an ego boost. I mean, you know, because usually anywhere you go now, I mean, they know who you are.
Pinney joined the gang in 1972 and bears the scars of the war with the Angels.
Put my life on the line for the club over and over again. You know, I didn't get stabbed and shot 7 or 8 times for, you know, standing on the sidelines.
Pinney says the Mongols take extreme issue with the Hells Angels mandate.
If I want to ride a bike and I want to put on a patch, I'm not going to have somebody tell me where I can ride and what I can, you know, or where I'm going to go. You know what I mean?
The fight between the gangs has lasted 30 years, with a dozen confirmed deaths and countless shootings.
We're at war. I mean, basically, everybody knows that, and that's what's going to happen. But when you're at war, that's just the price you pay.
September 2nd, 2008. The Dirty Thieves Bar in San Francisco's Mission District. An unknown Mongol entered the bar wearing his colors. With the local Hells Angels clubhouse less than a mile away, he seemed to be looking for trouble.
I don't know if he was in that bar that night to kind of test the waters of expanding the Mongols' territory in San Francisco, or if he was just there for a drink.
10:30 p.m. A group of Hells Angels arrived to take care of business.
Taking care of business, it could be anything from killing somebody and burying them, or, you know, killing somebody and dumping their body.
Mark Papa Guardado, the Angels' San Francisco chapter president, was among them. Papa had a reputation for brutality, and he wasn't about to put up with an enemy in the heart of Hells Angels territory.
There was some sort of conflict between him and Mark Guardado, and they went out into the street. They had a little bit of a wrestling match.
The Mongols stabbed Guardado 4 times, then pulled out a gun.
Witnesses said that they saw the fight, they saw them kind of grapple.
Suddenly, shots rang out. Mark Guardado was hit in the head and chest. He fell face down in the street. Witnesses were stunned as the Mongol fled the scene of the crime on his motorcycle.
The fact that he rode off on a motorcycle definitely raised some suspicions that there might be a biker war brewing.
The Angels' code demanded that they seek revenge. Everyone on both sides and the city itself knew what was coming.
They're going to do whatever they want. It doesn't matter what society says or the law says. They got their rules, nothing else matters.
But once that first punch, or that first kick, or that first bullet goes flying, it's too late for talking.
San Francisco. Residents call it simply the city. Tourists who flock here to see the Golden Gate Bridge, cable cars, and Chinatown call it Frisco. It's also the front line of a brutal gang war between the Hells Angels and the Mongols Motorcycle Club.
They hate each other, they won't do business with each other, they'll kill each other when they can.
The two gangs are sworn enemies, but each started peacefully right here in California.
They originally started, most of the clubs started as just to ride, to have the freedom of riding.
The Hells Angels were founded in 1948 in San Bernardino, 400 miles south of San Francisco. The San Francisco chapter was formed 6 years later in 1954. Over the next 2 decades, the Hells Angels would build themselves into the most powerful motorcycle gang in the world.
The Hells Angels view the world as kind of a them versus us proposition. You and I are citizens. We're not members of the Hells Angels. As such, we're some kind of lesser life form.
In the 1960s, the Hells Angels set up chapters across the United States and had no trouble finding recruits.
There is a big attraction there. There's the drug attraction, there's the violence, there's the women, and it's pretty much the attitude that we can do whatever we want, whenever we want, and get away with it. And nobody can stop us.
The Angels were a force, making money by dealing drugs and defending their turf by any means necessary. But they would soon be challenged. In the 1970s, the Mongols Motorcycle Club roared to life in Montebello, California, taking its name from Genghis Khan's ancient warriors.
It was a tight-knit group of ex-veterans and friends. They got together and they designed a patch, and they went from there.
Roger Pinney joined the gang after a tour of duty in Vietnam.
When I came back from Vietnam, I had this thing that I couldn't cure. It was like a rush for excitement, because I just went through a war, for God's sakes, and you just live on the edge, so to speak.
The open road, outlaw image, and partying drew him in. Riding with the Mongol horde made him stay.
You can imagine being in this long, stretching highway with hundreds of bikes and the roar of engines, and everybody's with you. We're all the same group. We're all Mongols.
By 1973, the former platoon leader, Pinney, had risen to the rank of Los Angeles chapter president. The Mongols began expanding their territory in California and trying to grow their drug business.
They're involved in the illegal drug trade in the sense from anything from small amounts of either methamphetamine, marijuana, dealing to pound dealing, kilo dealing quantities.
The Hells Angels noticed, especially when the Mongols modified their colors.
The patch that they wear on their back can be referred to as a patch or a set of colors, and this is sacred to them.
The patch is split into 3 pieces with the gang's name on top, their logo in the middle, and their location on the bottom. This bottom rocker marks their territory. For decades, the Hells Angels' bottom rocker had been California.
The bottom rocker indicated it was their state, California. Any other club could be a city club, but not a state club.
By 1977, the Mongols decided to claim California as their territory. It was a serious insult to the Hells Angels and a threat.
It was territorial. They owned, felt they flew California. It was theirs, period. To them, it was probably the same as flying Hells Angel top rocker.
The Hells Angels ordered the Mongols to remove the patch, but the Mongols weren't about to take orders from anyone.
It was which way we were going to go and how the club, are we going to take this and become a family club, you know, and are we going to stand up to the plate, you know?
The gang put it to a vote. The results weren't surprising.
The Mongols basically decided that, you know, we don't care what the Hells Angels have to say, we don't care what anybody else has to say, we're going to do what we're going to do.
We didn't realize what we were biting off, to be honest with you. But, we did it.
The decision led to the first blows in this war. September 5th, 1977. Escondido, California. Two Mongols members, Raymond Jingle Smith and Emerson Redbeard Morris, were headed home with their girlfriends in tow. The trip would put them on the Hells Angels' radar, and everyone knew tensions were high.
Redbeards and Jingle asked, should we fly back, brother?
Two San Diego Hells Angels driving in a car came up behind the Mongols, pulled out machine guns, and opened fire. The Mongols were blown off their bikes.
Both of these Mongols were killed. Both of the old ladies were shot up, one of them paralyzed, but both of the women survived.
The shooting signaled the fight was on.
When Redbeards and Jingles got blown off their bike, that's starting the war big time, and that's where we knew the was on.
The Hells Angels weren't done. During the funeral for Smith and Morris, a man arrived with a bouquet of red and white carnations, the Hells Angels colors. It was the ultimate insult. Then, the car used to deliver the flowers exploded, injuring 3 more Mongols. The gang was enraged and began plans to fight back.
If you shoot one of our guys off his bike, we're going to come at you with everything we have.
There would be no backing down.
I already lost one war. I wasn't gonna, I've had enough of that. A lot of us veterans said hell with it.
The most deadly biker war in history had begun, and the 80s saw the bodies piling up.
81, a Mongol was killed. 82, 2 Mongols were killed. 88, there was another Hells Angel stabbed to death on the Queen Mary by a Mongol member at a bike show.
By 1994, the bloody gang war had gone on for almost 2 decades, and there was no end in sight. The Mongols approached Hells Angels leader Sonny Barger, who decided enough was enough.
Sonny made the call, say we can just have a meeting and get this thing over with, because it's dragging out forever.
The 2 gangs agreed to share California. The Hells Angels got the northern half, the Mongols the southern. But the truce was short-lived. By 2000, the Mongols decided to start a chapter in Northern California.
We wanted to start a chapter of the Mongols in San Jose, California. The Hells Angels were claiming the Northern California as all theirs. According to them, that was their territory. We were to stay out of it.
The Angels saw it as an act of aggression. The war was back on, full force. April 27, 2002. Laughlin, Nevada. 10,000 bikers, including Mongols and Hells Angels, gathered for the annual Laughlin River Run. The Mongols were in Harris Casino drinking. 2 a.m. Roger Pinney was at the bar when some Hells Angels started heading their way.
After this many years, I just felt something was wrong.
They were there to take care of business, either fight, do whatever they had to do to take care of the Mongols.
Pinney approached the 2 Angels.
We kind of walked off by ourselves, and I said, we need to, there's a problem. What's the problem? Well, we can talk about this, but we need to defuse this bomb before it explodes.
Roger Penny, you can see him on the video, actually walks up, puts his hand on the shoulder of one of the Hells Angels and starts talking to, trying to diffuse the situation, trying to calm it down.
Suddenly, one Hells Angel kicked a Mongol in the chest, setting off a vicious fight.
It's like domino effect. The first punch, the first shot, the first stab, whatever.
Penny was trying to help a fellow Mongol when a Hells Angel came up behind him and pulled a knife.
So I grabbed the HA to pull him off my brother, and that's when I was stabbed 3 times. I felt the knives going in and twisting in my back, or my right, and twisting, because he wanted to kill me. And at that point, that's when the bullets started flying.
Penny managed to escape from his attacker. A fellow Mongol helped him out the back door and into a cab. When the battle ended, a Mongol and 2 Hells Angels lay dead.
I found out later that the 2 HA that I was talking to were dead.
The bloodshed escalated the war.
I don't give any, but I certainly don't take any. You want to disrespect me, and I'm going to do what I need to gain my respect.
The problem was the tension was building, and it was like a firecracker ready to happen.
In San Francisco, the world's largest outlaw motorcycle gang, the Hells Angels, are locked in a turf war with their hated enemies, the Mongols Motorcycle Club.
Over the years, you got one guy getting killed, 2 or 3 months later, a couple other guys die mysteriously or in a car accident, or however, they're still just taking care of business with each other.
The Hells Angels mark their territory with their colors, red and white. Businesses owned by the Angels follow suit. Officer Joe Smith of the San Francisco Gang Task Force asked to have his identity concealed. He describes how the Hells Angels use other symbols to show their dominance.
The Hells Angels are big on the San Francisco area code, which is 415. I think that this is kind of a, for lack of a better way of describing it, a Hells Angel town.
Anthony Tate, who worked undercover for the FBI, spent 5 years posing as a Hells Angel.
I never had to kill anyone. I beat up a number of different people, but that was just part of everyday business.
He's experienced the seductive power of the outlaw image.
You get on a motorcycle and you do know that you have a power. When you rack it up and those pipes rack as you're going by, a couple of good-looking girls just turn their head and look.
Tate was a valued member of the Hells Angels.
Had explosives and demolitions and firearms experience from the military, and so they, that's a pretty well-rounded package in their book.
Tate eventually became the gang's sergeant of arms, responsible for enforcing their will.
Sergeant of arms does exactly that. You tune up the person that needed to be tuned up. It's just the way it is. And hopefully that person survives through that conversation.
The Mongols operate the same way.
I'm what they call a club enforcer. When there's people out there who don't really agree with what has to be taken care of, I make sure that they agree with it. I don't take no for an answer.
The gangs reserve their most violent acts for each other. But collateral damage is acceptable.
The war between the 2 gangs, the Mongols and the Angels, you're there, you're standing 100 feet away, and a bullet just happens to come along and smack you right in the forehead. You're dead. Doesn't matter if you were standing right in the middle. Society does not matter to them.
The Hells Angels show their power in a very public way.
It's very commonplace to see members carrying large knives on their hips open and exposed so they can't be arrested for concealing a weapon. Whips are pretty big. Used to crack motorists that annoy you when you're riding your bike, break a rear mirror off, or etc.
They also have a specific way to show their hatred of the Mongols.
Occasionally you see acronyms such as AMMD, which allegedly means all Mongols must die.
While these two gangs are willing to kill one another, there is one thing they will not do: violate the Outlaw Biker Code.
I'd never testify against anybody, and that's just the biker way. But the one thing that you do not do in the biker world is rat. That's the way it is.
The battle for California continues. Eureka, 275 miles north of San Francisco. November 7th, 2008. Hell's Angel Robert Thompson was fresh from prison after being acquitted of the murder of 2 young girls. He went to a local bar just before midnight.
My understanding is that he was there to basically show the colors, try to make some inroads in Eureka for the Hells Angels, because it was kind of uncharted territory. There's nobody that really controls that particular area at this point.
A group of Mongols ambushed Thompson, shooting him and leaving him for dead. He barely lived. When the suspects were taken into custody, their tattoos told the story.
We have a kind of a mantra that respect few, fear none.
The respect few, fear none tattoo is worn only by Mongols who've committed violence against the Hells Angels. Mongols flaunt their ink like war paint.
Well, the MFFM that I have right here on my chin, it's Mongols forever, forever Mongols. Well, when I first started, I got these on my face, and a lot of people were looking at me saying, hey, well, what do you got that genie for, you know? So I put the Mongols over so that they know. I'm proud of my club, so I want everybody to know about it.
The Mongols reward their toughest members with their highest honor.
The Black Heart is given out to a brother that was wounded in the line of duty, basically, or trying to help somebody, or whatever the case.
Roger Pinney has 4 Black Hearts. He earned 1 for his involvement in the 2002 riot in Harris Casino in Laughlin, Nevada.
It's kind of rough to talk about, because, you know, I saw a lot of people hurt for no reason, you know. But I stood up, you know, I did my thing.
Following the casino battle, the Mongols adopted a new tactic in their war against the Hells Angels. They began recruiting new members from a brutal Hispanic gang known as Sureños. These new members had a vicious reputation.
If they're dealing with Sureños and they get loyalty from that club, then I guarantee that they're definitely going after somebody. They're definitely going to use them for a violent act.
The new recruiting push wasn't supported by all of the Mongols.
They were bringing into the club their old ways, their gang member ways, and they were dealing drugs.
They've taken a lot of people in without doing a good background. They've taken a lot of these wannabes that didn't even have motorcycles into their clubs, just so they could get their volume up and their numbers up.
The decision made the Mongols stronger. It also made the gang more volatile and dangerous.
The Mongols are more of a loose cannon than the Hells Angels would be. The younger guys are the ones that are probably going to be quicker to react.
We were a different club after Laughlin. We were a lot harder. We had to be. So when the came down, we were much more prepared, shall we say.
San Francisco. The city by the bay is the scene of a brutal turf war being waged by 2 outlaw motorcycle gangs, the Mongols and Hells Angels.
We're at war. People look at this program like young Hells Angels, one young Mongols, and say, oh, You know, who cares? We'll kill them all.
The Mongols, who are outnumbered by the Angels 5-1, began recruiting from a brutal gang, the Sureños, to help them in their fight.
As a Mongol, we always try to be on the defensive. I mean, when you have that many people, you know, things happen. I mean, you can't, it's hard to control every incident.
Since then, the Mongols have begun to expand their reach into Angels territory.
The minute the Mongols come into San Francisco, they'll be detected because the communication system is very good in San Francisco, and if they're floating through, they're definitely where they're not supposed to be.
September 2nd, 2008. San Francisco's Mission District. Hells Angels chapter president, Mark Papa Guardado, and a member of the Mongols engaged in a violent fight.
There was a conflict between Papa and this supposed Mongol member outside of the bar on the sidewalk, and a struggle ensued in which the suspect produced a handgun and shot Papa.
The Mongol fled the scene on his motorcycle after pulling the trigger. Papa collapsed, face down in the street.
The paramedics had cut off his shirt, and you could see the big Frisco tattoo on his side.
Papa was rushed to San Francisco General Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. News of the murder spread instantly throughout the city.
This is no ordinary murder. This could be big trouble for the city and for the mission. Everyone was pretty worried that it would mean a big war in San Francisco between the Mongols and the Hells Angels.
Papa was a popular, respected angel, and his death left the gang burning for payback.
The Hells Angels revered Mark Guardado. He's not afraid to take on the police or take on anybody, including the Mongols or any of their rivals.
September 15th. The Hells Angels laid Papa to rest in the San Francisco suburb of Daly City. The rumbles of more than 2,000 bikes could be heard for miles as the Angels rolled into town to pay their respects.
When the actual procession started, it was about as loud as anything I've heard on the street before. I mean, the ground really did shake a little bit as the procession went by. It was fitting tribute.
All day, people came roaring up on their Harleys, motorcycle clubs from all over the country and even overseas. It was the biggest funeral Daly City had ever seen, and everyone kind of wondered, is violence going to break out?
Vengeance was in the air.
That was a club chapter president of an internationally recognized city. And this is some Mongol that's in his town, and he gets killed by him. They've got to save face, so it's going to get a lot worse.
The Hells Angels would retaliate. They had eyes everywhere, and they could spot a Mongol and make the necessary phone calls to round up their troops.
The San Francisco PD released the identity of the suspect they believed to be responsible for the murder, Christopher Ablett. That he was a Mongol was no surprise to the Angels.
When they released Chris Ablett's identity, it was kind of a confirmation of everyone's suspicions. Everyone kind of knew it was a rival motorcycle group.
When the police went to Ablett's home to execute an arrest warrant, he was nowhere to be found. Police would need to find Ablett before the Angels in order to avoid further bloodshed.
There was a sense after that happened that, wow, this guy needs to turn himself in.
October 4th, 2008. Ablett surprised everyone by walking into a police station in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. more than 1,700 miles away from San Francisco. He had been a fugitive for a month.
He just walked into a police station and said, you know, I think people might be looking for me. And indeed they were.
Ablett was turned over to the SFPD and pled not guilty to murder. But the case is ongoing. And the fear of reprisals remains high.
The killing of the San Francisco president will add a lot of fuel to the fire. It will exacerbate the situation tenfold.
The more exchange of, killing each other, it's just going to prolong the ongoing war.
It's last man standing. A popular misconception is that wars only last a brief period of time. Fights may last a brief period of time. A war goes on forever.
San Francisco is in the grips of a brutal gang war between the Hells Angels and the Mongols Motorcycle Club. The killing of local chapter president Mark Papa Guardado has put the city on edge. His alleged murderer, Mongol Christopher Ablett, is behind bars, but tensions remain high.
Well, we've now had violence between the Hells Angels the full length and breadth of this state. Mongols are attacking them in Humboldt County. They're attacking them in San Francisco County. They're attacking them in Southern California.
You know, you should hate a Mongol because you're a Hells Angel. You should hate a Hells Angel because you're a Mongol. These people have been carrying that hatred for a long time.
December 20th, 2008. Las Vegas, Nevada. The Special Memory Wedding Chapel. Members of the Mongols and Hells Angels unexpectedly ran into one another.
One of the prospects from the Hells Angels was getting married, so you had numerous members of the Hells Angels present. And you have the wedding that's scheduled right after it, perchance, is a Mongol.
The Hells Angels and the Mongols spotted each other, and a fight immediately erupted.
The end result is 2 Mongols are stabbed and beat, and one of the other Mongols is severely beat.
The Las Vegas police are still investigating, but say the battle shows that the Mongols and the Hells Angels are willing to go to war anytime, anywhere.
As the two clubs come into more direct, more frequent contact, there's certain to be more violence. Anytime there's violence, there's a risk for innocent civilians being killed. And I expect that's what's going to happen.
Adding to this war is the presence of the ultra-violent Sureños gang members who joined the Mongols. These new recruits are known for their brutal acts against rival gangs.
The Mongols wanted to recruit the street gangsters to increase the numbers, knowing that the street gangsters are not afraid to commit acts of violence.
The vicious tendencies of the Mongols' new members could escalate the war with the Angels even further.
If they work with another gang, I'm sure they got also ulterior motives to be working with that gang. And if they're tied up with the Mongols, I guarantee they will do any violent act necessary to achieve their goals.
The potential for serious violence has drawn major attention from law enforcement. So far, the Mongols have felt the heat much more severely. In 2008, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms arrested 61 Mongols and charged them with methamphetamine distribution and assaults on rival gang members. The raid revealed a 3-year-long undercover racketeering investigation.
Several other Mongols were arrested here in California and Nevada. Large amount of cash was seized, weapons were seized, over 50 motorcycles seized.
The news only got worse for the Mongols. when a federal judge granted an injunction against the gang. If a member of the Mongols wears his patch in public, law enforcement are allowed to seize his vest. It's a major blow to this fierce motorcycle club.
We're going to kill ourselves off. We're going to kill the clubs off. Right now, they've got indictments. The Mongols can't fly their patches. Well, you don't think that's going to stop with us? If they get this through, they're going to go against all the clubs, and we're going to wind up destroying everything.
That's a big thing because the colors is what they live for. That's their identity. That's who they are. And they're not going to be so intimidating walking around with a Mongol's belt buckle as opposed to a Mongol's patch.
The authorities are also targeting the Angels. Anthony Tate left his FBI undercover assignment inside the gang and has testified against them.
One of the things I believe is a swift and speedy justice. It really frustrated me that these guys that had committed all these murders and done all these terrible things were not in prison. They were just out doing their thing, hadn't been caught yet.
Tate's testimony against high-level Hells Angels members set off a barrage of indictments.
The evidence that we had taken, hundreds of firearms, pounds and pounds of narcotics, pounds and pounds of explosives from members all over the United States.
The situation has been a major blow to the Angels. And with their code of silence broken, the gang has changed their Death's Head logo.
You'll notice the mouth is closed and they're stitching across the mouth because we don't talk about club business.
Tate now lives in hiding, convinced that the Hells Angels will retaliate if they know his whereabouts.
They would do it. They would do it if there was an opportunity. As far as continuing to look for me, they do on occasion. However, the person that tries to collect on the hit, if they're successful, the Angels won't pay. They won't pay. They'll just cap him when he comes to collect his money.
Roger Pinney is on probation for his involvement with the Laughlin incident and is no longer permitted to associate with members of the Mongols. He says he regrets that the war even got started.
And they're all the same when it comes right down to it. That's why it's so stupid. We all love motorcycles, we all love to ride, we all love to party, and we love brotherhood. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about. Unfortunately, someone steps on somebody's toes and then everybody wants to kill each other.
The new generation of members are hungry for power and are not interested in stopping the battle.
Most of the younger members have no clue as to what started the war. I don't think they know as to why they're really fighting each other, and that's what's expected of them. They're expected to hate the enemy.
I will give my life for this club. You know, don't get it twisted. Anybody out there watching this, if I can die so the club name can move on, I'll do that.
The war is in the DNA of both gangs and shows no signs of slowing down.
There's going to be wars. As long as there are colors, as long as there's patches, as long as there's that who has to be alpha dog, there's going to be wars.
I wouldn't know how to use the proper adjectives to describe it. How much hate can you have? I mean, is this like Arab-Israeli? You know?
I don't know if there's any into it, but do we really want to go on, killing each other? Because it's not going to end. It never is going to end. War's hell. No, that's the bottom line.